Tyler Brooks thought he could turn a patrol car into just another prop for his next viral video. But Officer Daniel Hayes saw more than a reckless teenager, he saw a disaster waiting to happen. Tyler Brooks always believed he was different from everyone else his age. While most students worried about exams and weekend plans, he focused on how many views his latest posts received. He craved attention and found it easily on social media platforms where risky content spread quickly. Every time he recorded himself breaking a minor rule, the comments poured in, praising him for being bold. That constant encouragement shaped his mindset, making him think that attention was more important than consequences. He saw law enforcement as just another obstacle in his quest for viral fame. In his mind, everything was a game, and he was always a step ahead of everyone else. The small town he lived in was quiet, the kind of place where unusual behavior didn't go unnoticed. Residents knew each other, and news traveled fast. Tyler saw this as an opportunity. If he caused a scene, people would talk about it, and he believed that even negative attention meant he was winning. He began planning small stunts like running through restricted areas or driving just over the speed limit. None of it was extreme, but it was enough to get reactions. Each stunt was filmed from specific angles, edited with flashy captions, and posted online with dramatic music to make it seem more intense than it really was. He carefully crafted his image as someone fearless, someone who didn't care about rules. Despite his growing online presence, Tyler's personal life lacked structure. His parents were often busy and assumed his confidence meant he was simply independent. Teachers noticed his change in behavior but believed it was just teenage arrogance. Tyler used that freedom to push boundaries even further. When his cousin left a car at his house, he saw it as his next prop rather than a vehicle that required responsibility. He didn't think about safety checks or legal permission. All he cared about was how it would look on camera. Filming himself driving around town, he added commentary, mocking the idea of authority and acting like nothing could stop him. He exaggerated every turn of the wheel and made normal streets seem like part of a thrilling chase. He wanted viewers to believe he lived a life full of excitement. What he failed to understand was that while viewers could swipe away and forget a video, real consequences didn't disappear as easily. Tyler believed he was in control, unaware that this mindset was slowly leading him toward a situation he would not be able to edit or escape from. The evening sky had just started to dim when Tyler drove through the quiet neighborhood, feeling a rush of excitement as he imagined the reactions his next video would receive. Didn't he notice how empty the streets were or how out of place his reckless behavior looked in such a calm environment? The neighborhood was usually peaceful, with children playing outside and families taking evening walks, but at that hour, most people were inside their homes. It made the sound of the engine and sudden acceleration stand out even more, catching the attention of Officer Daniel Hayes, who was on routine patrol nearby. The officer observed the vehicle slowing down and speeding up in quick bursts, a clear sign that the driver was not simply commuting but trying to draw attention. Tyler saw the patrol car in his mirror and felt a thrill. Instead of feeling cautious, he viewed the flashing lights as a chance to create the kind of footage that would set him apart from others online. He imagined titles like "Teen Outsmart's Cop" flashing across his screen and comments praising his courage. Without hesitating, he angled his phone to capture both the road and the patrol car in the background, making sure everything looked dramatic. He slowed down briefly, pretending to comply with the signal, then pressed the accelerator again, laughing to himself at the stunt he believed he was pulling off. Officer Hayes did not react aggressively. Instead of chasing at high speed, he maintained a steady distance and radioed in the situation, giving updates that included the vehicle description, direction, and behavior of the driver. Tyler was unaware that his actions were being recorded from multiple angles by traffic cameras installed throughout the neighborhood. These cameras tracked every turn he made, and nearby patrol units began adjusting their positions without needing to come into direct contact with him. To them, it wasn't a thrilling game but a controlled situation involving a reckless minor behind the wheel of a car that wasn't his. While Tyler continued recording, he exaggerated every move, making ordinary turns look like sharp escapes. Didn't realize that the officer behind him had already shifted focus from catching him in the moment to containing the situation safely. Tyler believed he had the upper hand because he didn't see a dramatic chase happening. What he failed to understand was that law enforcement didn't need to match his theatrics to stay one step ahead. The network of communication between patrol units, backed by surveillance technology he never thought about, slowly tightened around him. In his pursuit of attention, he mistook silence and patience for victory, unaware that every second brought him closer to an ending he never intended to film. Tyler continued driving through narrow streets, convinced that his unpredictable turns were confusing the patrol car behind him. He believed that if he stayed in constant motion, no one could pin him down. While recording himself, he gave exaggerated gestures to the camera, acting as if he had everything under control. He focused so much on his performance that he didn't pay attention to the small details around him. Every street he turned onto had cameras positioned at traffic lights and on utility poles, silently capturing his route. The officers didn't need to follow him closely because his location was being constantly updated through the town's surveillance system. He assumed that slowing down then speeding up would make it harder for the officer to track him, but the strategy had no real effect. The officer behind him kept a consistent pace, never appearing rushed. Tyler took this as a sign that he was winning. In his mind, no reaction meant his plan was working. He didn't consider that the officer was allowing him to move freely to avoid escalating the situation and risking harm to others in the area. Tyler's confidence grew with every turn he made without being directly confronted. He felt untouchable, unaware that patrol units were quietly moving to block every possible exit from the neighborhood. A drone had also been deployed, hovering above at a height that made it nearly invisible against the dimming sky. It tracked his movements in real time, relaying clear footage to officers stationed nearby. Tyler remained fixated on his own camera, reacting to imaginary praise from future viewers. He spoke into the phone as if he were a commentator of his own highlight reel, describing his actions like a skilled escape artist. The idea that technology could be outsmarting him never crossed his mind. As he continued circling, he unknowingly passed the same intersection twice. To him, it felt like part of his unpredictable route. To the officers, it confirmed that he was looping within a confined area, making it easier to seal off remaining open roads. Patrol vehicles began positioning themselves not to chase but to wait. By allowing him to keep moving in a closed loop, they ensured the situation stayed controlled. Tyler mistook the absence of conflict for success. In reality, each passing minute reduced his options. With every turn, the circle tightened, leaving him celebrating an escape that was never actually happening. The confidence he wore so proudly became the very trait that kept him blind to the fact that he was already trapped. The sun had nearly disappeared, and streetlights flickered on, casting long shadows across the pavement as Tyler continued his loop. He still believed he had space to maneuver, unaware that the area had gradually transformed into a controlled zone. Officers positioned their vehicles at key intersections, but instead of using sirens or rushing toward him, they remained still and patient. From a distance, the scene looked calm, but every move was deliberate. The drone above provided a clear layout of his path, showing exactly where he would likely turn next based on his repeated pattern. Tyler never looked up once. His attention remained glued to his screen as he adjusted angles to make his recording look more intense than it really was. When he finally approached what he thought was a path out of the neighborhood, he noticed a patrol SUV parked ahead. It wasn't blocking the road aggressively but standing in a firm position that left only a narrow space to pass. Tyler slowed down, uncertain whether to continue forward. He expected flashing lights or a dramatic chase, but none came. The silence made him believe this was still under his control. He gripped the steering wheel and tried to maintain the confident look he had been showing his camera. For a moment, he considered turning around again, but when he glanced in the mirror, another patrol vehicle had quietly taken position behind him at a distance. There were no loud commands or sudden movements. Instead, the environment around him seemed to pause. The open roads he freely navigated earlier were now limited. His recording continued running, capturing his growing hesitation. He adjusted his posture, trying to appear relaxed, but the controlled layout of patrol vehicles made it clear that his options had narrowed. He could move forward slowly or stop completely. Either choice would show that the freedom he believed he had was no longer real. Tyler finally brought the car to a stop, hoping that remaining calm would help him regain control of the situation. He placed his phone on the dashboard, still recording, waiting for something dramatic to happen. Instead of chaos, there was order. Officers remained composed, monitoring from safe distances rather than rushing toward him. The lack of confrontation made the moment feel heavier than any loud siren could. It wasn't a scene designed for a viral video. It was a quiet end to a reckless display. For the first time since the drive began, the attention Tyler sought no longer felt like something to celebrate. The silence around him replaced the thrill he had chased, signaling that the outcome was no longer in his hands. When the car stood still and the recording continued, Tyler stared ahead, unsure of what to do next. The thrill that once fueled his actions slowly faded, replaced by a heavy realization that the situation had moved beyond what he intended. He reached for his phone and checked the footage, still thinking about how it might look online. The video no longer appeared exciting. Without dramatic sirens or shouting officers, it lacked the chaos he believed would bring attention. Instead, it captured a quiet moment that reflected more truth than entertainment. The footage showed a teenager sitting alone in a car, slowly losing confidence in a plan he never fully thought through. Officers approached with calm, steady steps, following procedures designed for safety and documentation. Tyler expected a loud reaction, but what he saw was professionalism. This response didn't match the image he created of himself as someone who could provoke a dramatic chase. The lack of chaos made it clear that his actions were not being treated as a game. His earlier confidence felt distant, replaced by the awareness that every move he made had been recorded by multiple sources, including his own phone. The tools he used to build an online image now stood as evidence of his choices. In the following days, the impact of his actions became clearer. The vehicle he used belonged to a family member who had trusted him, and the reckless driving through residential streets was documented from several angles. Community members who had once ignored his online stunts now viewed him differently. Instead of admiration, there was concern and disappointment. The same digital platforms that had boosted his confidence now held clips of the event being discussed as an example of irresponsible influence. His name appeared not as a clever rule breaker, but as a warning for young viewers about crossing the line between entertainment and danger. Tyler watched as his own video, which he once believed would make him appear fearless, was now referenced in discussions about accountability. He realized that real life did not allow retakes or editing. Every second of his reckless drive existed exactly as it happened, untouched by filters or captions. The attention he received was not filled with praise, but with lessons directed at others his age. The moment that was supposed to elevate his image instead reshaped how he was seen by his community. The story he tried to control slipped out of his hands, leaving behind a message stronger than any performance he could have staged, that chasing validation without responsibility leads not to fame, but to consequences that remain long after the camera stops recording.